Power Extreme. We're talking Centurions. Hit it. It was 1986. Margaret Thatcher opened the M25 motorway, Stand By Me was in theaters, and Kenner released the Centurions toy line. I'm your host, Jerry D., with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. What's up, dudes? Remember the Centurions? Well, maybe this will jog your memory.
In the near future, Doc Terror and his cyborg companion hacker unleash their forces to conquer Earth. Only one force can stop this evil, a handful of brave men. In specially created exoframes, they can be transported anywhere to fuse with incredible assault weapon systems beamed down from the space station Skyvault, becoming man and machine power extreme. Max Ray, brilliant Sea Operations Commander. Jake Rockwell, rugged Land Operations Specialist. Ace McCloud, daring Air Operations Expert. Whatever the challenge, they are ready. The Centurions.
But let's take a step back. Centurions began as a toy line by Kenner in 1986.
Jake Rockwell, Ace McCloud, and Doc Terror each sold separately.
Trouble up rubber, Jake! Interceptor assault mode! Let's do it! I name this Doc Terror down! Centurions! Take this! Energize the power mode! Bombs away! Fire! Now it's Doc Terror falls! Right, Jake? Right, Ace!
New Centurions, Jake Rockwell, Ace McCloud, and Doc Terror come as shown, each sold separately.
Kenner had dominated toy sales in the early 80s with their Star Wars line. But after Return of the Jedi, the line didn't perform quite as well in the mid-80s. Kenner did have success with the DC Comics Superpowers toys and the Mask toy line, but they were ready for something new. They released the 7-inch Centurions line in 1986. The figures had cybernetic exoframes with a number of hard points on the surface to which the various parts of their assault weapon systems would attach. In the accompanying Ruby Spears cartoon, the AWS was beamed in from the orbiting space station Skyvault. The Centurion team initially consisted of 3 agents. The first was Deep Sea Specialist and Leader, in some continuities, Max Ray. He wore a green exoframe suit and had a Tom Selleck-inspired mustache. Max frequently merged with the submersible for underwater missions and used torpedoes and mines. Ace McCloud was the aerial flight expert, and his blue exoframe fused with a variety of jetpacks, rockets, and gliders. He was also the leader in other continuities. Finally, Jake Rockwell was the land operations specialist. He sported a yellow exoframe and regularly attached to weapon systems with heavy artillery. A second series was developed but never produced, which would have introduced 3 new Centurions: Rex Charger, energy expert, John Thunder, infiltration commander, and Vic McCloud, space operations specialist. The team was supported by Crystal Chase, who would beam the AWS to the operatives when they needed. The Centurions battled Doc Terror, a cyborg mad scientist who was determined to conquer the world and turn its inhabitants into robotic slaves. He's aided in his terrorist activities by common criminal turned bumbling cyborg hacker. Now, the aforementioned Ruby Spears cartoon, animated by Sunrise, included designs by comic legends Gil Kane and Jack Kirby. Further character design was done by Noriyoshi Oyama, with involvement by Mitsuo Fukuda. The show combined science fiction with fantasy, even including episodes about magic, Dracula.
This is the real Count Dracula, I think.
You have heard of me. Then you know that resistance will be useless when I take control of your willpower. And Doc Terra called you formidable foes.
Dinosaurs, mummies, and zombies. The time frame of the series was never specified, remaining a nebulous near future. But according to Kenner employees, the show was originally considered to be set in a dystopian future. One season of 65 episodes was produced, beginning with the 5-part miniseries. However, low sales caused Kenner to cancel the toy line, and Ruby Spears followed suit. Now, DC released a tie-in comic miniseries, and London Editions magazines, which we've talked about before, and Egmont Company, had their own Centurions comics in the UK. Today, we're talking issue number 8. Now, despite the vague near-future label, the UK comic firmly establishes the year as 2087 in the 4-page story entitled Time Trap. In fact, it's New Year's Eve 2087, and even on Skyvault, the turn of the new year is eagerly awaited. Max, Jake, and Crystal have only 2.5 minutes before midnight, and Crystal's arranged to have Jake beamed up to Skyvault to celebrate the new year with his friends. Just as Jake is teleported aboard, he discovers everything in a state of suspended animation. Yes, every one of his friends is frozen in time. Investigating with the space scanner, Jake discovers that time hasn't stopped, just slowed down almost to a halt. It seems Doc Terror has fired a Time Stasis beam at Skyvault, causing some sort of time distortion. Not knowing how to operate Skyvault's defense systems, Jake instead opts to use Ace's Orbital Interceptor AWS.
Power Extreme!
He's not used to handling space missions, though, and his flying is erratic. Fortunately, this prevents Doc Terror from locking his weapons on him. Jake fires a multi-particle missile at Doc Terror's flying fortress, disabling it and shutting down the beam. Free from the time stasis, Crystal beams Jake aboard, and the team ushers in the new year. Issue number 8 also has a story entitled Arctic Attack, but that's a story for another time. You know, I actually had the toy of Max Ray, my brother David had Ace, and my buddy Chad Young had Jake Rockwell. They were cool figures. You could take the weapon systems and place them on any one of those hard points, and so it was almost like a multitude of toys in this one toy. It was really cool. But you know, G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. I think the other half is having a last name that directly corresponds to your job. Right now, I think you can have a short break and enjoy the New Year celebrations, even if they are a bit late. And check us out on our social media pages, which you can find at linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. And if you're feeling like the Centurions ringing in the new year, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you. 2088, here we come. Later, dudes.
Computer, beam Max and Tidal Blast to the following coordinates.
Power Extreme!